right now. Nobody else owns that stone quarry. Because there's been some rumors going around that somebody else already owns it. So one of the things we want to do is kind of just a couple little rules so that it makes it a little easier for everybody. If you would raise your hand to speak and remain quiet when people are speaking so that everybody can hear. Respect each other's opinions. If somebody's for it or against it, we want to hear from everybody. Ask questions that are related to whatever John or Teri has said. If you have a question about that in particular, when they're done speaking about that section. Let's see. Respect the owners of the current stone quarry. We have petitions along the back wall, or the side wall there. We'd hope that everybody would sign it just to show our support that we do not want the land rezoned. There's no high pressure to sign it. We just want you to know the facts. And people were asking when signs would be available, and that is April 9th. And the zoning meeting for this variance is on April 10th at 6:30. And right now it's scheduled for the Township house over by the quarry, but I have a feeling they're going to be moving it here. They've already talked about it. We're also taking donations for signs and banners. If we go farther than the zoning meeting and the Board of Appeals, then we would like to put some more out so that you know what, that we're still fighting it. So I'll turn it over to Teri.
As she said, I'm Teri Hirschfeld. I'm with the family that has owned the quarry since our dad, Bob. Some of you might remember Bob Hirschfeld started the quarry in 1979, purchased the property from the Bushongs, and I am the person who is the managing partner of the land owning company. You might hear the name Calex thrown around. There's some different company names that are being thrown around in this process. Calex is the company that owns the actual land and the mineral rights for the quarry area that exists and is zoned for mining. So who's Calex? Calex is me, Calex is my brother John, and Calex is two other siblings between the two of us, and they weren't able to be here tonight. But we're here to give you information, facts that you want answers to. We've heard a lot of questions, we've heard a lot of confusion. It's good for neighbors to get along, and so that's why we're here. John, you want to take it over and talk about?
Yeah, I'll tell you a little bit more about the setup of the company. So you've got Calex, they hold the land. Dad bought that. There's another little chunk that we bought from the Hertensteins that's got a different name to it. It's called HDT. All of that stuff's been through this process. It's been zoned for industrial. It's been zoned conditional use permit, and we have permits from the state to mine. So that's been all done. Then you've got a company called Conag. Conag is actually the company that sells, Conag has the contract with Calex to mine the material off the land. Conag also bills customers for stone. Basically, once you hit the scales there at the quarry now, then it comes into Conag's realm. We're billing the customer, we're taking care of accounts receivable. And Conag pays a company called Weber Building Materials to crush the stone there. I'm sorry, Weber Materials. So Conag is just me. Nobody else is involved in that. Conag is just me. So then you've got the company called Weber Materials. Weber Materials is a partnership of 3 people. Kevin Weber, Mark Bader, myself, all equal partners in the partnership. They are the people that are mining the stone there. They go out and market the stone for me. They make the sale. They crush the stone. They dig it up. They're doing everything basically up until you hit the scales. And they've been doing that for 4 years now. And there's another 6 years left on the contract. And then you've got 2 other companies that I'll mention. You've got a company called Weber Building Materials. That's Kevin Weber and Mark Bader, and they own a trucking company with 2 trucks, and they haul quite a bit of stone out of the stone quarry. They do a lot of work bringing in other truckers to help get stone out of the stone quarry. And then there's another company that I have, it's called Lightstone. I've got a few trucks. I don't do too much in the area. I haul it 75 miles plus out of the area to different customers. So Lightstone isn't in the mix too much. So the company that is petitioning to get the zoning changed would be Weber Building Materials. That's the trucking company. I don't have any involvement with that. I have involvement with everything else. Yeah, I have involvement with everything else that's been mentioned. I don't have any involvement with Weber Building Materials. So don't ask me what Weber Building Materials is doing. I'm not part of that. So that's the setup. Those are the players in what's going on out there. Go ahead.
All right, further clarification is ConAg, John's company, Calex and HTT, the 2 property companies, were not consulted or involved or otherwise made known of the interest of this rezoning that had been filed by the Weber Building Materials Company. So some of you got letters from the county telling you that rezoning had been requested. That's how we found out about it too. Because the property in question that that Bruce and Luann Stoner have, I guess, I don't know what you could, allowed the rezoning request to happen, petition to happen, butts up against our property towards the east. So that's how we found out about it. There's no discussions, there's no communication whatsoever about having the potentially rezoned property be part of ConAg, be purchased by Calex or our other property company. So I think there's been questions as to, is this just an expansion of the existing quarry, or is it something new? Again, like John says, we're not privy to what the plan is, but we do know that we have had no interest. We never approached the Stoners to add property. It's just not part of our plan for our quarry that exists today. So I'll stop there. Does anybody have any questions about that? Yes.
Has the Stoner property been purchased yet?
The question is, has the Stoner property been purchased? I don't have an answer to that question. If you go on the county recorder's website, I think you can see who owns the property. I don't know the answer to that question. I do know that the documents at the courthouse that have listed the property that is being requested to be rezoned is listed as owned by the Stoners. and their deed is attached to that document. So what's happened between the time that was filed and now, I don't know if there's been any changes. Any other questions about that? Yes?
You guys have an open deed with Love Materials ever written?
I'm sorry?
Did you have an open deed ever written with Love Materials?
In the contract, in the contract with Weber Materials, there's nothing concerning anything in Ohio. There is non-compete as far as some interests that I have in Indiana. Indiana, yeah.
Are there any other questions about that?
In the 6 years when the contract's up, will you renegotiate with them again? Is there plans on another contract with Weber?
I'm going to turn that over to John because he's the one that has the contract.
We'll see. When you're the people that have been there and you brought the other people on board and they go around and do something like this, it doesn't sit so well.
So it's a possibility. There's nothing that says it's not going to happen, but we'll let you take it from there. Let me look at my notes here for a second and see if there's anything that we missed.
So with going off of that last comment there about if I don't renew the contract with Weber Materials to continue crushing, and they could open this up next door, they could mine off of it. At the end of that 6 years though, if I don't want them on my property anymore, they can't exit from my property. At that point, if they're going to sell stone, it's going to need to exit somewhere else. Where that exit will be, I don't know. It appears to me it'll be on a township road. Like you said, first off, I don't know. Go ahead, Dusty.
There's a lot of rumors going around that you're about out of stone. Would you please tell them that that's not true?
We got a lot of stone. At the stone quarry, I did a map on it. At the stone quarry, we're a little bit over halfway down. We're permitted to go down 235 feet. I think right now we're mining between 120, 125 feet. The floor kind of varies. And there's another spot where we've gone down to 50 feet. Top of my head, as I remember it, we've mined out just the top half has been mined out on 34, 35, 36% of the property that's there. There's dirt on a lot of the rest of the property, but that being said, if you only mine the top and at the rate that we're going at right now, I figured 10 to 12 years, yeah, pretty easy, just mining the top. If you just mine the bottom, there's 25 years easy, and that doesn't mean you take any more of the top off. Do you have that sheet there? I did a calculation for the hole that we're in. So, and afterwards, if you guys want to look at this, that's fine. Let's see here, 242. So, Calyx total years of reserves is 116. We don't have it just for 41.6 where we're at right now. So I've got it estimated at 41.6 years. 41.6 years where we're at right now. And that's only the stuff that's enclosed by the dike and is what you guys consider to be the quarry. With the other Calyx land, goes up to 116 years of reserves if you take everything out. And then when you throw in the HDT land, that takes it up to 162 years of reserves. That's at the present production rate of sales, which is probably 65 to 75% more than we were doing before Weber Materials came in. So it's at the faster pace. It will continue to increase and expand because other stone quarries are going out of business. People keep using stone, and there's a hole out there. We keep digging it and selling it. So the pace is probably going to increase as time goes by. But we can dig there for a while. Dad said he wouldn't see the end of it, and he told me I probably wouldn't see the end of Calex. I don't know that I'm going to see the end of the hole that we're in. I mean, there is a lot of rock out there. It may go faster in the future. I suspect it will. There's still a lot of rock out there. We're going to have to really pick up the pace to run out of rock. So, to that end, there's a lot of rock out there.
Another question? Sorry. Yeah, Al.
So does that mean you're not coming north real soon?
When we got the Hertensteins, I got that for peace of mind that I wouldn't have to worry about anything. I'll say this about crushed stone in Noble Township. You've got a resource here that you need to keep around for some other people. I have been over in Indiana, and there are a couple of counties over there that are all sand and gravel, and I've talked to county commissioners about passing resolutions so this stuff can be mined, because down here there's no sand. Up there, there's no crushed stone. We got to keep these things open for people in the future. And I know that when we bought the Hertenstein property, we paid pretty good money for that. A lot of you probably won't be around for the next time the stone quarry expands, but whoever's property it is, you're going to get more for it than farmland. And if this is left to go, everybody's going to benefit. You need to keep this hole in the ground going. People need rock. Somebody's got to get it out of the ground. It's got to come from somewhere. Regulate it. Let us be. We're doing the best we can. But just keep that in mind too. That being said, we got a lot of rock. We've got a lot of rock.
But the question I think that the township folk need to ask is, do we have enough rock with the existing quarry to serve the community without taking more of the township and preserving it into aggregate production as opposed to agricultural production?
Weber Materials is doing a hell of a job selling rock for us. We got a hell of a lot more to mine yet. While I'm alive, I really don't see the need. 40, 50 years down the road, next generation, yeah, society's gonna need some more rock.
All right, who has any more questions about the reserves?
I kind of have a question.
Yeah, Dusty.
If this zoning gets changed and if we have two quarries, are you gonna allow them to come through your property to reach 66A?
I have to take a look at my contract closer. I think up to the end of the contract, I don't know that there's anything I could do about it. But once my contract is done, that hole over there, or whatever's coming out over there, will need to come out a different way if I don't extend the contract. And as I said earlier, what's going down here just really doesn't sit too well with me.
Is there a question over there?
Yeah,
Yes,
I had a
Lauren.
question. So just more of a clarifying question. So you did mention that you owned a couple different properties and all of those were owned by you and already zoned and the mining rights?
Yeah, that's correct.
Correct. Okay,
All of
so-
the acres we own are
Already zoned and
permitted.
mining righted? Okay. So with that being said, where it's at now, you said over 100 years of reserve?
Correct.
On areas you haven't even touched yet?
Correct.
Okay, thanks. I just wanted to clarify that.
So Lauren was asking, are these reserves that we're talking about all within the property that we own? And the answer is yes, like over 100 years worth. Correct?
Yeah, correct. Thank you.
Just wanted to make sure everybody could hear. John?
At the present pace.
Okay, thank you.
That's another variable.
Where is that property in Indiana?
I've got a little yard over there that I sell some stone over there. I don't have property, I'm just leasing property right now. But the setup is that they don't go over there and sell against me with my own stone.
Okay, they don't, so if perhaps somebody needs something, you could actually, is it far, close enough that it could come from Indiana?
It is, Lynn, how far away is it? Hour and 45 minutes with the truck? We run there almost every day. Yeah,
It's about a 5-hour turnaround.
yeah, 5-hour turn.
So over and back is 5 hours. Now, just to be clear, what John and Lynn and Lightstone bring back to this area is products that aren't available here. And what they take over from the quarry here are stone products that are not available over there. So we're not trying to dump things into Indiana that they already have. And likewise, we're trying to help this area by bringing products over like sand. You gotta have sand to make concrete. That's a big thing for this area. You've gotta have sand.
So sand, yeah, bringing sand back. We haul a lot of ag line out of here, or starting to haul a lot of ag line out of here over there. They need our ag line. On our way back, we're starting to stop in Paulding and bringing ag line back. Because my truck is full both ways, I can pass some of those savings on to the farmers around here. So I'm helping to keep a lid on prices. Natural sand, Dad was always, he always said, we're gonna run out of natural sand. We ran out of natural sand. Ohio is running out of natural sand. It's getting to be a bigger and bigger problem. Northern Indiana and southern Michigan is all sand. So it's a beautiful fit that we haul rocks over there and bring sand back and try and keep costs down and be green.
Did I miss a hand back in here? Let me see what else. So we covered who's who owns what, the fact that there's a contract, the people who are contracted with don't have a business interest in the current, they have no ownership of the current quarry. We covered the amount of reserves that are left and the amount of acres that we own. I'm not sure what other facts would you guys like to know? Or maybe Lauren and Vickie want to talk a little bit more? Oh, okay.
My in-laws put in a house that's sitting on that corner that used to belong to that 142 acre stone ranch. And from what I knew, it was told that house was an actual treatment post for the canal. Is there any historical values inside or?
The question is, there's an old house that sits along the canal,
No, it's right side of Vickie's house.
right side of Vickie's house. In the zone, within the potentially rezoned area, not on our property, but within the property in question, there is an old house that, it's understood that it may have had something to do with trading that went on when the canal was an active trading route. And the question is, would there be some historical value to that house that sits on that property right now? I don't personally know the answer to that question. John, you don't know the answer to that question.
I don't know what you'd have to go
Would you be able to get
through.
it stopped for that reason?
I'm sorry?
Would you be able to get it stopped for that reason?
So the question is, would the rezoning request be able to be stopped due to the historical potential value of that house?
We'll
We-
check it out.
Vickie's part of the zoning board, and she will see if she can answer that question for you between now and next week. But thank you for the question.
I didn't know I had an opposed historical property until they came and redid the bridge.
So you did not know you had a historical property until they redid the bridge?
I know that there was a Roswell mill.
Okay, so Linda Bupp learned when they redid the bridge by her house that her property had historical value. Okay, got it.
Well, I have to know that.
So I guess you don't know until you ask the question. So we don't know if the answer is yes or no. Back in the back.
How many employees do we have? How many employees are in Weber Materials?
We're not part of Con
No, he said.
Understand,
Weber.
Conag is me,
He said, how many employees does Weber have?
but Conag is me. Lisa here runs the scales. She's actually with Lightstone. And then I've got 4 drivers right now in Lightstone. Weber Materials, I think you've got 2 drivers. Weber Building Materials has 2 drivers. I don't know how many employees are involved with me, Kevin, and Mark with Weber Materials.
I said 8.
8 employees, there you go. Yeah, 8 people that are actually in the mining process, that crushes stone and loads out. Yeah, 8 people. You've still got 2 people on top of that, as far as 2 people on top of that, or 3 for management.
No, just 2 on top.
2 on top of that, yep.
Top.
3 if you count me. Any other questions out there?
So there's plenty of sand in there.
Yeah, there's a lot of sand.
That's fine.
If anybody wants to put in a beach.
Yeah, northern Indiana, geologically, glacier-wise, is a pretty interesting place. Yes?
Okay, so there's currently a quarry in Buckland. There's yours here. So it's 2 in all Glaze County. Being the subject matter expert in quarry and mining, is it in your professional opinion that another quarry would benefit?
So, yeah, so that's a good point to bring up. So we've got 2 quarries in all Glaze County, and they're only 5 miles apart. There has always been a lot of competition between these 2 quarries. I would say typically anymore, you've got maybe 1 stone quarry per county. You go to Franklin County, big county, there's lots. Toledo, there's lots. But for your typical county, it seems to be about 1 per county. There are exceptions. But you go for here, you would have 3 stone quarries within 5 miles. That's probably not economically feasible. At some point, somebody's going to close down. There's going to be a hole that's not mined for a while. It's just going to sit there because it doesn't make sense for anybody to walk in and buy it up. You're going to have somewhere, there's going to be a hole with water in it. Kind of like you go over by Rockford going out 33, you can see a old quarry that sits back there in the distance. Well, that's what you're going to have. It's just gonna sit there. Someday they might come in and dig it out, they might not. Yeah, go ahead, Kyle.
What's the price difference from Buckland stone to our stone? And
That I couldn't tell you, you'd have to talk to Mark. It's considerable, yeah, it's considerable.
Yes, sir. You said a hole in the ground.
Yeah.
In Noble Township, if you put a quarry in, you have to carry it along under the current thing, and you have to restore the land back to the original condition. So. if that-
So,
if you're
you
gonna
have-
Close prematurely, then you guys would have to. close
Right,
down.
so when a stone quarry goes in, you get permitted with the state. And part of that is for all of the acreage that's mined, you buy bond to get it reclaimed. As long as that quarry, as long as the owner says that that quarry is open and wants to use it, you don't have to reclaim it. So that quarry can sit there for a while, not reclaimed, because the operator says, I still might use it. Yes, sir.
Who does that liability fall on? Is it the people buying the stone, or is it the landowner?
The liability for what?
The, like, return of the court or the ground back to the natural?
So at ConAg, in the contract, whatever ConAg had disturbed and placed and isn't reclaimed, that sits with ConAg. Whatever Weber Materials has disturbed and hasn't reclaimed, that rests with Weber Material. The ultimate responsibility falls on ConAg because it's ConAg that buys the bonding with the state, or buys the bonding to be certified by the state. Any other questions out there? Have a question for Terry.
I have a question for Terry. All right. Vickie or Lauren, did you have any questions that you wanted to ask people, or other facts that you wanted to share? Or is there anything that we haven't talked about today that you guys are still curious about or are unclear about?
I know when Bushong's property was sold, they did testing prior to buying that land. Are they allowed to do that over there, in 17?
That would be something that would be done between the Stoners and Weber Building Materials. We don't have anything to do with that. You know, we weren't asked or
That's the
whatever.
way it was with Bushong's, right?
But-
Bushong's.
Yeah, that's a good answer. We're not privy to that. I mean, it's their land. They do what they want.
Yeah,
To a certain degree, yeah. If they want to drill a hole, they can drill a hole. Go ahead, Vickie.
Linda, that testing has already been done. It's been done over the last year or so. And believe me, they say that there's not gonna be any extra dirt or anything. We had to call the sheriff to have them clean the road off, because you couldn't get a car through the mud that they left when they brought those testing trucks in. We called the sheriff and they wanted to know.
Wasn't any
who
problem
owned the
with
ground,
Bushong's.
and it was Bruce.
There wasn't any problem with Bushong's property.
It wasn't about the guy who did the testing, it was about who owned the ground, that was what the sheriff asked. Yeah.
So the drilling process, what goes on there is you, at least when I've done it, I can't speak for what Weber Building Materials did, but when I have drilled properties, you bring in a drill rig and they will core down. And the first thing you want to see is how much dirt is on top that you can't sell. That's an expense. You need to know that expense. And then you drill down deeper into the rock to see what's there, quality of it, and how thick it is. That's how I came up with this number of, there's 235 feet of rock approximately that we have to mine at ConAg. We went down 350 feet, 365. OD&R came in because they were very interested in it. They found some things that they weren't expecting. The rock around here is different than it's supposed to be. They found 4 different layers of rock that don't exist anywhere else. But you gotta core down. You gotta drill down and see what's there. Hey, it's up to the person that is buying the hole. How far down's the bluestone? We're sitting on top of bluestone right now. The bottom half of the bottom half of the depth is bluestone. It's bluestone like, it's not the black stuff like you have further north. It's the blue stuff like you have going south. Way back yonder.
You know, when you start cooking a new quarry, and you also go deeper with your existing quarry, isn't there have to be a greater use of explosives in order to get it out?
So the question is, when you open up a quarry and go deeper, is there more explosives used? There's more explosives used per ton of material that's relieved. Your shot's typically smaller, and yeah, you load it heavy because if it doesn't come up, you've got big problems getting it out in the future. So yeah, you load it heavy on the bottom, and it blows up, and it actually, the last lift shot I did, it's just like a loaf of bread. It splays out over the edge of the pan in every direction, and it'll pop up. If you're doing a 40-foot lift, when it's done, it'll be about 20 feet up in the air. It's rock. What's that? Yeah.
on the basement?
So, at Con Egg, there should be, let's see, 40, we've probably got 2 more lift shots to do in the hole, and there shouldn't be any more lift shots. Once you go full depth, you're done. So, any other? I was talking to somebody else about explosives. This isn't like 1980s lift shot versus today's lift shot. Explosives have come a long way. When I went to college, I was told basically that there's no way, when you do a shot, you're drilling the equivalent of a well for water every hole. They're about 15 feet apart and about, it depends, 12, 13, 14, 15 feet back from the high wall. I think we're shooting a 6 or 8 inch hole. You load it up with explosives, and as I say, you let it rip. So down on the bottom, you put a detonator. In the old days, it was something that burned and it wasn't consistent. Today they use microchips to get the timing exactly right. In the old days, the timing to get it to explode, you're trying to do stuff every 10 to 15 microseconds apart. Well, they weren't precise enough. And you would have holes that would explode at the same time. You might have 3 holes that explode at the same time just because your timing's off. And when you have 3 holes explode at the same time, you get a lot of rumble. That doesn't happen as much anymore. Actually, I don't think it happens anymore. With these microchips, stuff goes off when it's supposed to, and you can put it on a computer and you can design your shot to see how it comes out. When I was in college and did shot mix designs, computers were just coming out. I didn't do my shots. I had to go in and calculate all the stuff to do a shot. So in the regard to the rumble and the blast effects of a shot, stuff like that, it's getting better. It continues to get better. People in general don't like the ground shaking. Yeah, the industry gets that. They're working towards making it better and better.
So there was some technical stuff about doing blasting. Just so you know, blasting is very controlled, regulated, and a quarry owner doesn't do their own blasting. There are people, at least we, in our quarry, the people, when they're gonna do a blast, it's professionals who have been trained and licensed to do these kinds of things, who come in and, you know, we're counting on them, a quarry owner is counting on them to bring the newest techniques. And they know from their industry, obviously, they're wanting to minimize the disruption of the surrounding areas as well. So just so you know, this is all done very professionally with whatever quarry you go to. This is not somebody who went out to the explosive factory and picked up a case of dynamite and decided to do something.
Yeah, it's not like when we opened up the quarry and there were two guys that only had 4 teeth between them. The people, the people that do blasting they're true professionals, and it's come a long way.
I've lived in my house 48 years, big difference from when you first started, a real big one.
So for those of you who can't hear, Linda lives right across the road from ConAg, and she says, and Bob, and would you say the same, that it's not as the same, but Linda says it's,
Yeah.
okay, so Linda says it's very different than 45 years ago when they started. Bob says things aren't falling off his shelves anymore. And they both live right across the street. Now, I don't know about Al. You know, Al, you might have a different opinion. Al?
No, I liked it. I don't know who owns it, I don't care right now, but I liked it to be notified when there was going to be
Yeah.
a blast.
That was nice.
Whether I was home or not, I knew when I got home because there was a paper on the door that said, we're gonna blast at 10:30, we're gonna blast at 1. That doesn't happen anymore.
Well,
Occasionally when it blasts, I still get maybe a picture or two off the wall. It's not as often. My concern is the well, which I think should be everybody's, from people I've talked to, from other people I've talked to. They are now measuring, they come down to the house, and I suppose they do it when I'm not there too, but they come down the house and they are measuring the blast, and I don't understand all that. But that wasn't done before. Is that something that they have to do now? Is that, they have to go a distance and everything?
To tell you the truth, I don't know if it's something that's been regulated in the last 5 to 6 years because I've been out of it. I know that when I was taking care of the blasting, if you wanted a seismograph there, they bring a seismograph in and you get a seismograph reading. I do know that when I was blasting, there would be complaints sometimes, and there's a thing called reflection off of clouds, where the energy goes up into a cloud, it bounces down, it's focused on a place. I do know that when I was doing it, I tried to avoid cloudy days, and that way the energy all just goes off into space. But I have heard stories of places, and this isn't only at ConAg, this is when I worked down in Georgia. Yeah, you'd have a place 2, 3, 4 miles away. Oh my God, it shook the living daylights out of me, you know? 950 other times that you blast, there's nothing, so, yeah. Actually, water wells, you want to talk about water? You said people are worried about their wells.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, so on the water wells, ConAg's been taking care of the water wells. People have a well go dry, 9 times out of 10, we'll take care of it. I don't like saying this because I don't appreciate the bills, but it is what it is. Somebody's putting in a new house, I've been telling people, you get me the first 100, I'll get you the next 100. So you've got a well that's 200 feet deep. Even if I go down to, say, 250 feet, you probably won't ever run out of water. So on the water, where you're at, you shouldn't have to worry. Linda, you ran out of water, was it 2 years ago, 3? It's been a few years.
Shower well, and it went dry, and no problem. I mean, I had water the same night, just.
Yeah. So-
In my kitchen.
So, Linda just lives right there at the bridge,
Yeah,
and
then you pay for everything.
Yeah.
You dug a deep well. I'll never have a problem with it.
So Linda's right there at the river. Your well, I think your first well was 22 or 23 feet deep.
Shallow.
It was into the rock, maybe 10 feet.
Yeah.
And here we are, we got 35 years out of it before your well went dry.
And I went through like 5 pumps.
Yeah, you went through
Shallow.
quite, yeah, it was a shallow well.
I'm gonna have to
So,
worry about that.
you didn't have, relatively speaking, you didn't have any problems. But Vickie, I think we did your well.
Yep.
That's the issue, yeah. There've been some other wells over there we've had to take care of. The water seems to travel from the west to the east, at least in that hole. So we see and are concerned about wells to the east of the stone quarry. The water feeds off of the river. Your wells are recharged from the St. Mary's River, from what I can tell. So you shouldn't have to worry about anything until I get down there, and I don't, nothing against you, but I don't think you're gonna make it that
What
well.
about
It's
the
gonna
other
be a
big hole
while.
that's coming in, if it comes?
What's that?
What about the other big hole if it comes in?
That could be a problem,
That's-
because that's to the east of me, and the people that are even further east of me will get dried out sooner. The water flows from the west to the east.
So you're talking the Sand Pool Road area?
I think so. Sorry, it's been a few years since I did the concrete dispatch, so the roads are kind of blending away in my brain. Is that the house with, the road with all the houses on it?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, that's, when we did our permit, for the 235 feet, that was one of ODNR's concern areas.
So
If
it's not
a,
just-
if a well does go dry over there, they have it laid out that if a well goes dry over there and it hits their criteria that, hey, you're gonna draw down Conag, you're gonna draw the water down over there 70 feet. If they run out of water, I've gotta replace that well. It'd be the same thing for Weber Building Materials. They would have to replace the well. It's part of getting your mining permit.
So they don't have an option of
No, not anymore. Back when the stone quarry originally went in, it was an option, not anymore.
what,
So we did it voluntarily.
Yeah, we
My
did it
dad- Dad
voluntarily.
did it voluntarily, and now the regulations are such that it's a requirement to be permitted.
I don't want people running out of water. I don't like that at all. We try and take care of people. Yes, sir?
How would you determine which stone quarry ran the well by that?
That'd be a real good question. Yeah, it could make for some really screwed up problems.
So then we wait 6 months while your 2 lawyers fight it out over who paid for it.
Right, right. Yes, ma'am.
Can we circle back to Al about notifying when you guys are gonna blast? Like,
I'm sorry, what's that?
Can we circle back to Al about being notified when you're gonna blast? Like, I know I've asked several times, I think I've called over to you guys. I live on the other side of the canal. Just, even if you put it on Facebook or in the newspaper or something.
So I'll take that up with Weber Materials.
Yeah, they used to call me.
I don't know, or Contact doesn't always find out either, except for 5 minutes.
Yeah. I'm okay
That'll
with
come
5
across,
minutes.
yeah, I understand.
Yeah.
So I'll take that up with,
Yeah, yeah.
we'll take it up with Weber Materials and see if we can't get that going again. Cornerstone, the previous company that was in there crushing, we got them so that they were starting to do that. Like I said, it's Conag, I don't always find out. So we'll see if we can get that taken care of.
so can we back up a second, John? When you was talking about, when I asked about, wells, and you said something about it going east, people who live on the east side, it's gonna be a serious problem. But I would still have a problem too, with another hole, correct?
Potentially you could, yeah. Potentially you could. You're gonna be in the same spot as Linda though. You've got the river between you and the hole.
And the river replenishes your well.
Have we ever, well, I don't think we've ever done anything with your well, have we? I know the well there at the stone quarry. Yeah, the well there at the stone quarry, which preceded us arriving there, that's 65 feet down, and you go 150 yards, and it goes down, the hole goes down 125 feet. So just because you have a stone quarry right next door to you, doesn't necessarily mean that your well's going to go dry.
Is there a question back here?
Yeah, go for it.
So what other concerns of the professionals within the cement industry, what other concerns should homeowners have besides your wells going dry with a new hole being done nearby them?
So the other concern that I see, or the other thing that I don't understand, the stone will need to come out onto that township road. And as I heard somebody else saying here tonight, well, truckers, they're gonna go where they're gonna go, which I get it. I mean, it's money, and we're all trying to make a buck. So those roads are gonna get hit with trucks. I was talking to a road contractor over in Indiana this morning. I've got costs. I haven't put pencil to paper yet. Roughly thinking out loud here, just for the new pavement and basically take the road out, put it back in so trucks could go on it. I thought it was like $1.5 million, but I'll have to check that out. That doesn't include the bridge. The county engineer said the bridge would probably need to come out and be redone also. Where that money comes from, I don't know. I know that it's township road. I suspect it would be a township expense, but I can't tell you for sure. I do know that 66A, over the years, we had problems with it. They're fixed, seems to hold up. It's in good shape. So I don't expect any more major expenses for the county repairing that road, or River Road. I think they're both in good shape. But those township roads over there, something's gonna have to be done. Weren't you saying that the semis were going through there when 66 was shut down?
Yes.
So, yeah, you were saying that when the 66 was shut down, some of the semis were taking that through there as a shortcut, and 4 days in a row, 3 days in a row?
3 days in a row, they ripped the guardrail off the bridge at Lock 14.
So,
And we told them, don't replace it until it's open.
so yeah, 3 days in a row, semis came through and ripped off the guardrails of that bridge. So that road's gonna need to be
Has to be widened for sure.
widened, redone. There's gonna be trucks going through there. You're gonna have to make the road so it's capable of doing that. And who foots that bill? I guess that's the big question. I can't tell you. I don't know. But yeah, that would be another concern as far as opening it up. Got some good questions tonight. Yes, sir.
How much income do you guys get to the township taxes?
Yeah, I don't know.
I was told by one of the trustees that there's not, other than some kind of tax that you pay to them, this is what one of the trustees told me, that there was not a whole lot of money coming to the trustees as an income off of the current board.
I couldn't tell you. I don't know. I know I pay taxes.
That excess to go on the township, that is if you don't allow them to access your
That's-
property.
That's correct.
You could come up with a contract that they access.
Oh, sure. That's a good idea.
Just ask them.
What else are you curious about?
Why was Weber Materials brought into Limestone and not Connie?
Weber material was brought into Mindstone out of Conag because I was at a point in my life that I couldn't handle it all anymore. Weber Ready Mix had been sold. I was not getting along with the previous company that was in there crushing, and I decided that I would give Mark and Kevin an opportunity to go in and crush stone. I believe it was a year after that, I had 6 bypasses. So in hindsight, I knew something was going on. I needed to get out of there, and I stay out of there. I've been through some stuff. I'm a diabetic. I have been all my life, and it's kind of a life choice that I had to get out of there. What I was going through, I'd like to live a little bit longer. I was going through a lot of stuff. It was a really difficult thing for me to let go of that. It still rubs me the wrong way today.
And if I can tell you, John loves the mining. John loves things about mining. John started working with Dad in the quarry 12 or earlier than that, 12 years old?
So when I was in kindergarten, I had to help my Uncle Howard change a screen at the gravel pit because I was skinny enough to fit in. So at the age of 6 or 5 or 6, I was helping there. By the time I was 11, I was running the gravel plant. When I was 14, I started running a front end loader. And back then when the MSHA inspectors would come in, Lee Cook would always tell them, they would say, "Hey, you've got a miner working here." And Lee would say, "I've got several miners here working here. That's how we get the stone out of the ground." But yeah, this is about all I've ever done.
And John also, when he has a civil engineering degree from Ohio State and took quite a few mining classes at Ohio State. So it's been a passion of his, literally his whole life. So me, as a family member who basically oversees just the fact that we own the property, I've felt good about, and we have felt good, John, or my sister and my brother, who aren't here tonight, and I have felt good that this was a passion of John's, it was obviously a passion of our dad's, and it was something that we felt good about keeping going. Other questions? I see one back there. Yeah, go ahead.
Our area is surrounded by floodplains. Could digging another sub-quarry affect that, causing more flooding?
Digging another stone quarry would probably help with flooding because there's somewhere else for the water to go. Up there at Bluffton Stone several years ago, that's a stone quarry that sits along I-75. The dike there failed. I had a ready-mix plant down there at the time. It all got flooded. The people of Bluffton were very thankful for that stone quarry. The flooding was bad, but that big old hole, it sucked up even more water. So I don't know that it's going to make the flooding any worse. It does provide somewhere for water to go. And as far as another positive of a big hole in the ground, is it is another it's a bigger reservoir for water. Water and rock, you get some water. But when it's all water, that's a lot of water to recharge the aquifer. We pump a lot of water out to keep the hole dry. Yes, groundwater. Yeah. So the water that comes in is pumped out into the St. Mary's River.
Right down on the corner.
Yeah, when you drive by the stone quarry, if you're heading north after you pass the north entrance, you'll see concrete column that goes up in the air. Underneath that is where the water goes out. I'm sorry? Yeah, no, I'm thinking, I just did the water use permit. Oh, Kyle, you know, yeah.
No,
You
I
don't-
got a question.
Okay, I can't tell you off the hand. I'll have to take a look at the permit again. It's a lot of water. Yeah, everybody that uses over a certain, or every industry that takes water out of the ground in the Great Lakes area, and including the provinces in Canada, you have to fill out a permit with the state of Ohio telling them how much water you pump out. The well at the stone quarry is, I think, 67 feet. The well that we're pumping the water out of for the stone quarry right now, the floor is at 125 feet. I've punched it down additional 50 feet deeper than that. That's full of water right now. So right now, I guess I would say that the well at Conag is 125 feet deep. Go ahead.
Is the water cleaner that comes out of the stone quarry than what is in the river that flows around it?
Is the water in the stone quarry cleaner than the water in the river? I'd have to say so. Yeah. Groundwater is usually better than river water.
Nobody gets in my yard.
That's river water.
That's river water.
Yeah, which goes up.
Yeah.
Is there a way to recycle that water instead of just constant flow from quarry to the river?
So, is there a way to recycle the water? Yeah, I guess we could pump it up on top, but it just come right back in. It's kind of like when you're pumping water out of the basement, you want to get it dry. So, I mean, if there was somebody that wanted to hook up a pivot to it and irrigate their fields, dude, there's plenty of water. I mean, I've wondered about that several times. You go up to Indiana, everybody's got a pivot in their field. A lot of water, a lot of water. Any other questions out there?
Al has another question.
What do you think would be their options when it comes to pump the water out? Or would they pump it? I know that's
As a professional look at it, they would probably, they would pump it into the creek that goes right past your house. The other thing though too is your well probably won't go dry because your family is so Yeah, we're not pumping into the canal. It was an option, but yeah, you don't pump any water in the canal. So yeah, it would go into a ditch. And to me, that's the one that logically makes sense.
Is there any idea why you think, a lot of people think there's only 5 years left in the quarry, but the people out there are trying so hard to keep them going? Because I mean, if I were you, if I had 5 years left, I'm retiring. Is there any reason that?
You can answer that. Why are the people,
Why is the-
There's only 5 years left, but yet you guys are fighting so hard. Is that a rumor starting out, or do you have any idea why people are?
I'm not sure why people would say that there's only 5 years left. Given the professional calculations that have been done, what we know from our core samples, and the amount of property that we own, there's no way that we've calculated that there's only 5 years left.
I think the calculation is probably on a contract. Yes, ma'am. You got that? 270. Yeah, 270.
And that's based on, you go on the county GIS and pull off the acres that we own, and you add them together.
So the spot where we're at right now, that's about 109 acres. So even once we get through where we are at, which, yeah, it's gonna be a little while yet, there's more stuff to be mined there. Right now, I think we've got 40 acres of, 35, 40 acres affected. If you want to come out by the stone quarry, we've got maps that we have to give to ODNR annually, and it'll have all that information. I don't know. I just know the rock keeps coming out, and I'm happy.
Industrial sites built township have 6-foot fence all the way around it. How you said they could run trucks through there, that would be 2 different pieces of property. And you guys would have to be lost in there. That 6-foot privacy, that's separating the 2 properties. So that we're going to measure 2 farms. Why would you not put that 6 foot up and block them out?
I am not following.
Right from the get-go, and then that traffic would instantly have to go down that township line road. The company would have to put that 6 foot all the way around, therefore they cannot take that traffic back up.
That's a really good idea. I'll keep that in mind.
So, just so is everybody clear on what this gentleman's been talking is, he made the point that industrial sites in Noble Township are required to be enclosed by a 6-foot fence. Therefore, a fence would need to be along that back, or some sort of a barrier along the back of our property, which would require then that whoever wanted to develop the property in question would automatically have to exit out onto the township road that it fronts onto, rather than coming through our property, unless there was some sort of an additional permit that was issued.
What route would they do to get their water to the river?
What route would they use? There's a,
You gotta go over your property.
you're familiar, the water flow, there's a creek that runs, or a ditch, technically they call it, it's a county ditch that's been created along, the property that we own that's between Con Egg and where Al and Leslie live, where Hertensteins used to live.
Right.
That field that we have, that Vern Yale farms, there's a creek that runs north and south, and then it turns at the end of that field right before it gets to the Solomon's property, and it runs down towards the river, under, where they replaced that culvert
Yes.
within the last year. It runs down through there, and then it cuts through the property that we own on its way down to the river.
Heads east.
Right.
For the bond, going back to that, where they'd have to file to restore the land, he said, yours is 40 years out, and possibly more. For their property, say it's 70 years out, does that increase or decrease that bond?
So you have to do the bond, the year that it's affected, I buy bond. It's $2,000 an acre. I have to keep supporting that bond, that the land's gonna be reclaimed until ODNR says, yes, you have reclaimed that land. You don't need bond on it anymore. No, that what you're,
Yeah, that's what I was asking, if it's 100 years out, basically,
yeah, if it's 100 years out, yeah. And, yeah, that's pretty much the story on that, yeah.
Any other questions for the good of the order? Yeah, we got one back here.
Hey, John, in your opinion, I don't know, you can say whatever you want, is it greed or whatever, but why does Kevin want his own quarry? If he's got many years worth of years, which he
I think, he is looking for some land to sell along with this plant.
Do what?
He needs land to sell with the plant. He's got he's got a part of a crushing operation there. Some of the stuff there I still own, but he's got a plant. When it's time to sell, a plant's worth the iron. When you sell a plant with land, it's worth a lot more. He doesn't have land. I suspect that's what's up.
Develops a quarry, you're saying you'll have something to sell, you
Correct.
want to sell it? So
Correct.
he's not even looking at his long-term, when you run your business.
I can't speak for him, but yes, there is a scenario where you have a plant, you get land through the whole permitting process, and then you turn around and sell it to somebody else. I mean, it's plausible. I can't tell you what they're going to do. I plan on digging rock for a while yet. I can't speak for them.
Going once? Yep.
Okay, if this were to go through and the developers and not, when I was talking to you, how close, because I know it's right behind, how close are they allowed to come up and go off?
So when you're mining land out, I think you're allowed to go within 75 feet or 100 feet, or it's set how close you're allowed to go to the border, unless you get a release from the neighboring property owner saying you can go within 25 feet, 6 feet. At Freiburg, we had a neighbor that would let us literally go right up to the line and mine stuff out. Houses, you're not allowed to get any closer than 150 feet. Or I believe it's also just structures in general, you're not allowed to get any closer than 150 feet.
And he's not around the room to do that for exit. My property's right there on it. Mine's next to my hidden zone, area. He can have a hundred something, he can get out either way. That's a lot of ways.
It's interesting things that are going on, I'll just leave it at that.
I'm not letting out.
Have you had any trouble with people's basements? Have you ever had a repair or anything like that?
Not that I can think of. The blasting, it's getting better. It's getting better and better. So, and as far as basements flooding, I would think with a 125-foot hole next
You know, I'm
door.
saying like a crack, the basement cracking or anything.
Yeah. I haven't heard of anything. If it's happened, I don't know about it.
If there's no other questions, if something comes up over the next few days and you have questions, you're welcome to stop by ConAg. And, we'd be happy to answer any of the questions, or you can reach out to Vickie or Lauren. A lot of you probably know about the Facebook page and the web page that they've started. And I won't speak for them, but we appreciate the opportunity to get to know our neighbors a little bit better and to share the information that we've been able to share tonight. It's certainly a testament to the strength of the Noble Township community that you guys are coming together to really assess. This is a big decision, and it's great to see that there are people who really want to understand what's going on and make sure that their decision makers that they've put in place are hearing what you want as the community to happen. So if there's no other questions for us, Again, if you want some more details on anything, we'll stick around for a little bit, and I'll turn it back over to Laura.
Thank you guys so much. So just in closing, I wanted to reiterate a few things. So on your way out, if you feel ever so inclined to sign the petition, if you haven't yet, please do so in the back. All of this information that that Teri went over today is available on a website. I don't know if there's any other questions about that. I know, Noah, maybe you had some question on factual information there? Nothing? Okay, so it is verified to be correct. Any other things, this video will be online too for everybody to see. So with that, thank you guys so much. I have the whole link, I'll send it right to you. Thanks guys. Oh, please pick up your chair if you got one out and put it back on the rack. Thanks.